Have you ever stood before a truly ancient marvel like the Great Pyramid of Giza or the standing stones of Stonehenge and just wondered, how? How did people thousands of years ago, without the cranes, trucks, and technology we have today, move stones weighing tens, even hundreds of tons? The most mind-boggling part? For much of this time, they didn't even have the wheel. It seems impossible, yet the evidence is right there, carved in stone, standing the test of time. So today, let's pull back the veil of mystery and explore the incredible ingenuity of our ancestors. We're going to uncover the lost techniques and sheer human power that built the impossible, long before the first wheel ever turned on an axle. Imagine this. You're an early human, and you need to move a massive boulder. Maybe it's for building a shelter or a monument to your gods. Pushing it is a nightmare. Dragging it across the rough ground is even worse. The friction is immense. Every inch a struggle. This is the fundamental problem our ancestors faced. But humans are innovators. The first breakthrough was deceptively simple. The sledge. By placing the heavy object on a flat, smooth platform, maybe made of wood, they could drag the sledge instead of the object itself. This concentrated the friction onto the runners of the sledge, which could be shaped and smoothed to glide more easily. It was a game changer, but it was just the beginning. The next leap in thinking was pure genius. What if, instead of dragging the sledge across the ground, you could make the ground itself move? This is the principle behind log rollers. By placing a series of cylindrical logs underneath the sledge, or the stone block itself, our ancestors created a primitive conveyor belt. As the stone was pulled forward, it would roll over the logs. The logs at the back would then be picked up and moved to the front, creating a continuous rolling path. Suddenly, the effort required to move monumental weights dropped dramatically. Friction was no longer the enemy. It was being cleverly managed. This simple yet profound innovation unlocked the ability to transport materials on a scale never seen before, setting the stage for some of the most ambitious construction projects in human history. Now, let's travel to ancient Egypt, to the sun-scorched Giza Plateau. The Great Pyramid alone is made of over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, transported from quarries hundreds of miles away. How did they do it? They used a combination of all the techniques we've discussed, but on an epic scale. Hieroglyphs and archaeological evidence paint a vivid picture. We see massive teams of workers, organized and disciplined, pulling colossal stone blocks loaded onto huge wooden sledges. But they had a secret weapon against the stubborn desert sand. A famous wall painting from the tomb of Tut clearly shows a person standing at the front of the sledge, pouring water onto the sand in its path. It might seem trivial, but recent experiments have confirmed that wetting the sand to a specific consistency can cut the pulling force required by half. It was a brilliant piece of practical physics. To get these massive blocks up the ever-growing pyramid, the Egyptians built enormous ramps. The exact design is still debated by historians. Were they straight? Did they spiral around the pyramid, or was it a combination? But the principle was the same. These ramps, made of earth, brick, and rubble, created a gentler slope, allowing the teams of workers to haul the sledges skyward, layer by layer, with relentless determination. It was a slow, painstaking process that likely took decades, a testament to their incredible project management, social organization, and sheer endurance. Now let's sail across the globe to one of the most isolated places on Earth, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui. The island is famous for its nearly 1,000 monumental statues called moai. These giant heads, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing over 80 tons, were carved from a single quarry and then transported miles across the island's hilly terrain to be erected on stone platforms. Again, no wheels, no draft animals. So how did they do it? The island's oral traditions speak of the statues walking to their destinations. For a long time, this was dismissed as myth. But recent experiments have shown it might be literally true. By attaching ropes to the statue's head and belly and using coordinated teams to rock it from side to side, it's possible to pivot the statue forward in a shuffling, walking motion. It's a precarious rhythmic dance between a multi-ton stone giant and a team of people working in perfect sync. While other theories involving sledges and log rollers also exist, the walking hypothesis is a powerful reminder that ancient solutions were often as much about rhythm and teamwork as they were about brute force. This brings us to the most critical component of all these ancient megaprojects, the human element. We can talk about sledges, rollers, and ramps, But none of it would have been possible without immense, coordinated human power. We're talking about thousands of people working together towards a single goal. Imagine the scene: the rhythmic chanting of workers pulling in unison, the foreman shouting commands, the collective grunt and strain as a giant block inches forward. It was a symphony of effort. Close-ups of their determined faces would show not just muscle, but intelligence and focus. Every person had a role, from the quarryman cutting the stone, to the rope makers, to the teams hauling, to the engineers overseeing the entire operation. And in many civilizations, they were aided by the brute strength of animals like oxen, yoked together to provide the consistent, powerful pull needed for the heaviest loads. It was this fusion of human ingenuity, social organization, and raw power that made the impossible possible. So when we look back at these pre-wheel wonders, what do we see? We see a masterclass in creative problem-solving. Faced with the monumental task of moving mountains, ancient peoples didn't have advanced technology, so they perfected the fundamentals. They mastered friction with sledges and lubrication. They created motion with log rollers. They conquered gravity with ramps and leverage. And most importantly, they harnessed the power of community and collective effort on a scale that is hard to comprehend today. These marvels aren't just piles of stone. They are monuments to human ingenuity, collaboration, and the unyielding spirit that drives us to build, to create, and to leave our mark on the world. The same spirit that would eventually lead to the invention of the wheel and all the technologies that followed. Ever found yourself stuck in traffic, staring at the car in front of you and just zoning out? What if I told you that the very things making that traffic jam possible, the wheels, are one of the most revolutionary inventions in human history? It's a story that spans thousands of years, a tale of ingenuity that literally got humanity moving. So, buckle up, because today we're rolling back time to uncover the incredible history of the wheel. Imagine a world without wheels. Seriously, try to picture it. No cars, no bikes, no shopping carts, not even a simple wheelbarrow. If you wanted to move something heavy, your options were pretty grim. You could push it, pull it, or maybe, if you were clever, drag it on a big animal hide. For thousands of years, this was reality. Ancient civilizations like the Egyptians building the Great Pyramids accomplished incredible feats of engineering without the wheel. They used immense manpower, sledges, and wet sand to move massive stone blocks. Other cultures used log rollers, placing logs under a heavy object and rolling it forward. It was slow, back-breaking work. Every single move was a monumental effort. This was the world before 3500 BC, a world waiting for a spin. Then, somewhere in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, something clicked. But it wasn't for transportation. The very first wheel wasn't on a cart. It was on its side. It was the potter's wheel. Picture a Sumerian artisan, hands covered in wet clay, sitting before a spinning stone or wooden disc. With a gentle push, the disc would spin, allowing them to shape a lump of clay into a perfectly symmetrical pot with incredible speed and precision. This was a game changer for pottery. But the real revolution was the concept itself. A heavy object rotating smoothly and continuously around a central point, an axle. It didn't take long for some genius to flip that idea 90 degrees. They took that spinning disc, stood it up, and put an axle through it. Then they made another one, connected them with a plank of wood, and voila, the first wheeled cart was born. These early wheels were clunky, solid wooden discs, sometimes made from a single slab of wood or 3 planks clamped together. They were heavy and slow, often pulled by oxen. But compared to dragging a sledge, it was like upgrading from dial-up to fiber optic internet. Suddenly, farmers could transport larger harvests to market. Builders could move materials more easily. The world started to open up. For the first time, heavy loads could be moved over long distances with a fraction of the effort. A new era of trade and travel had dawned. For the next 1500 years, the solid wooden wheel was the king of the road, but it had its limits. It was heavy, which meant the cart itself was a significant part of the load. And it wasn't built for speed. Around 2000 BC, another brilliant innovation emerged from the grasslands of Central Asia and the Near East: the spoked wheel. Instead of a solid disc, craftsmen started building wheels with a central hub, a rim, and several spokes connecting the two. This design was an engineering marvel. It was dramatically lighter, stronger, and more flexible than its solid predecessor. The impact was immediate and dramatic, especially in warfare. The spoked wheel gave rise to the war chariot. Imagine swift, two-wheeled vehicles pulled by horses, carrying an archer and a driver, thundering across the battlefield. Civilizations like the Hittites in Asia Minor and the Egyptians of the New Kingdom used chariots to devastating effect, creating vast empires. These weren't just clunky wagons anymore. They were high-performance machines. The spoked wheel made armies faster and more mobile, changing the face of ancient conflict forever. But it wasn't just about war. Lighter carts meant faster communication and more efficient trade, connecting distant cities and cultures like never before. The wheel was great, but it was only as good as the surface it rolled on. Bumpy, muddy tracks were a challenge for any wheeled vehicle. Enter the Romans. The Roman Empire was built on logistics. To rule their vast territory, they needed to move legions, supplies, and administrators quickly and reliably. Their solution? Roads, an incredible continent-spanning network of paved roads. The famous saying, "all roads lead to Rome," was quite literally true. These expertly engineered roads, often built in straight lines and with proper drainage, were the perfect partner for the wheeled cart. On these Roman highways, heavy-duty wagons with iron-rimmed wheels became the lifeblood of the empire. They transported grain from Egypt, wine from Gaul, and marble from Greece. The combination of sturdy wheels and smooth roads created a system of trade and communication unparalleled in the ancient world. It was the engine that powered the Roman economy and military for centuries. The wheel wasn't just a tool anymore. It was a fundamental part of the infrastructure that held an entire civilization together. After the fall of Rome, the pace of innovation slowed, but the wheel didn't stop turning. During the Middle Ages, its application expanded beyond transport. Think of the majestic water wheels, harnessing the power of rivers to grind grain or power blacksmiths' bellows. Or windmills, using the wind to do the same. The wheel was becoming a source of power, a key component in the machinery that drove medieval life. Then came the Industrial Revolution. This is where the wheel truly went into overdrive. It was at the heart of the steam engine, with its massive flywheels and driving wheels powering the locomotives that crisscrossed continents. It was in the gears and pulleys of the new factories, spinning cotton and weaving cloth at an unprecedented rate. The wheel was no longer just about moving things from point A to point B. It was about creating power, driving machinery, and building the modern world. And that brings us to today. Just look around. The wheel is everywhere, in forms its inventors could never have imagined. High-performance alloy wheels on supercars, massive rubber tires on mining trucks that stand taller than a house, tiny caster wheels on your office chair, minuscule gears inside your watch. It's in the turbines of a jet engine, the hard drive spinning in your computer, and the landing gear of a spacecraft. From a simple potter's disc in ancient Mesopotamia to the complex machinery that defines our modern existence, the story of the wheel is the story of human progress. It's a testament to our relentless desire to move faster, build bigger, and explore further. It's an invention so fundamental that we often forget it was invented at all. So next time you're on the go, take a moment to appreciate those circles of genius spinning beneath you. They've carried us a long way. When you think of the wheel, what's the first image that pops into your head? Probably a powerful chariot from an epic movie, or maybe an ancient cart rumbling down a dusty road, right? It seems so obvious. The wheel was made for moving things, for transportation. But what if I told you that for its first few hundred years of existence, the wheel had absolutely nothing to do with getting from point A to point B? What if its true origin story is much more delicate, creative, and, honestly, a lot more surprising? The real story of the wheel doesn't begin with a cart, but with a lump of clay. Let's travel back in time, way back over 5,500 years ago to ancient Mesopotamia, the land of the Sumerians. This was a civilization buzzing with innovation, the birthplace of writing, cities, and complex laws. And it was here, in the hands of a craftsman, that the wheel was truly born. Imagine a potter, sitting cross-legged on the ground. Day in and day out, they painstakingly shape clay pots by hand. It's a slow, laborious process. You have to constantly walk around the pot, or awkwardly turn it bit by bit, trying to keep it perfectly symmetrical. It works, but it's not efficient. Then, one day, an idea sparks. What if the pot could turn on its own? So they take a simple, heavy, flat stone or a wooden disc and place it on a pivot on the ground. They give it a spin. It's not fast, maybe just a slow, steady turn, what we call a tournette or a slow wheel. But it's a game changer. Now the potter can sit still. They can use both hands to shape the clay as it revolves in front of them. The pots become more uniform, more symmetrical, and they can be made much, much faster. This simple turntable, this potter's wheel, is the true ancestor of every wheel you've ever seen. For centuries, this was its only job, helping artisans create beautiful, functional pottery. It was a tool for creation, not for transportation. The wheel existed, but the idea of turning it on its side and putting it on an axle simply hadn't occurred to anyone yet. So how did we get from a potter's spinning disc to the wheels that would eventually carry empires? This is where the story takes a massive leap, a moment of pure genius that would forever alter the course of human history. For about 300 to 500 years, the potter's wheel spun on, a common tool in workshops across the ancient Near East. Meanwhile, people were still dragging heavy loads on sledges, rollers made from logs, or just using their own muscle power. The two concepts, a spinning horizontal disc and the need for easier transport, existed in parallel worlds. Then, someone somewhere had the revolutionary thought. We don't know who they were or exactly where it happened, but their insight was monumental. They looked at the potter's wheel, spinning horizontally on its pivot, and imagined it turned 90 degrees. They envisioned two of these solid wooden discs. No spokes yet, just heavy slabs of wood, connected by a rigid pole, an axle. Suddenly, the wheel wasn't just for shaping clay anymore. It was for conquering distance. The earliest evidence we have for wheeled vehicles appears almost simultaneously around 3500 BC in Mesopotamia, the North Caucasus, and Central Europe. It seems this brilliant idea was so powerful that it either spread like wildfire or was independently invented in several places around the same time. The first wheeled carts were clunky, heavy things. The wheels were solid wood, sometimes made from 3 planks clamped together, and they were fixed to a rotating axle. This meant the entire axle and wheel assembly turned as one unit. Turning corners would have been a nightmare. You couldn't just turn one wheel. You had to drag the whole contraption around. They were slow, noisy, and inefficient by our standards. But compared to a sledge, they were a miracle. Suddenly, a single farmer with a pair of oxen could transport goods that would have previously required a whole team of people. The impact was immediate and profound. Think about it. With wheeled carts, farmers could bring more surplus grain to the newly forming cities, feeding a growing population. This spurred urban growth and specialization. Merchants could now transport goods like textiles, metals, and yes, pottery over much longer distances. Trade routes expanded, connecting distant communities and cultures in a way that was never before possible. Ideas, technologies, and languages began to flow along these new arteries of commerce. And of course, it didn't take long for humans to apply this new technology to warfare. The clumsy ox cart soon evolved. Lighter wheels, the invention of spokes around 2000 BC, and the domestication of the horse led to the creation of the war chariot. This was the ancient world's equivalent of a tank. It was a terrifyingly fast and mobile platform for archers, giving a massive advantage to armies that possessed them. Empires like the Egyptians, the Hittites, and the Assyrians rose and fell on the strength of their chariot cores. The wheel went from being a tool of creation and sustenance to an instrument of conquest and power. It was transforming every single aspect of society. From a humble potter's turntable to the engine of empire, the wheel's journey is incredible. It shows us that innovation isn't always a single, sudden flash of brilliance. Sometimes it's a slow burn. An idea can exist in one form for centuries, waiting for the right mind to see its potential in a completely new light. The potter's wheel solved a small, specific problem: how to make better pots faster. But in solving that problem, it laid the foundation for one of the most fundamental inventions in human history. Every car you drive, every plane you fly in, every gear in a complex machine owes its existence to that ancient Sumerian artisan who just wanted an easier way to shape a lump of clay. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest revolutions begin with the simplest of spins. Have you ever stopped to think about the one invention that truly set humanity in motion? It's not the computer, not the printing press, but something far more fundamental, something we see every single day. I'm talking about the wheel, arguably one of the most transformative inventions in all of human history. It's so simple, yet its impact is almost immeasurable. Today, we were going on a journey back in time to uncover the epic story of how this humble circle rolled its way from a simple potter's tool to the very engine of modern civilization. So buckle up, because we're about to explore the incredible evolution of the wheel. Our story begins not on a road, but in a workshop. we travel back to Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, around 3500 BCE. Long before it was used for transport, the wheel made its debut in a completely different form: the potter's wheel. Imagine a craftsman previously spending countless hours painstakingly shaping clay by hand. Suddenly, with a spinning horizontal disc, they could create smoother, more uniform, and more intricate pots and vessels at a speed never before thought possible. This wasn't just a small improvement. It was a revolution in craftsmanship. For the first time, mass production became a reality. This innovation allowed for better storage of food and water, which was crucial for the growth of early settlements. It was here, in the hands of an ancient artist, that the fundamental principle of rotational motion was harnessed, planting the seed for everything that was to come. From the potter's studio, the wheel was ready for its next big move. It took about 300 years, but someone had the brilliant idea to turn that spinning disc on its side. The first wheeled vehicles weren't sleek or fast. They were clunky, heavy carts made of solid wooden planks, often hewn from a single tree trunk and fastened together. Imagine the immense effort it took to drag heavy goods across rough terrain before this. Suddenly, these solid wheeled carts, pulled by oxen or donkeys, could transport large quantities of grain, stone, and other resources. This was a game changer for trade. Cities that were once isolated could now connect, exchange goods, and share knowledge. The Silk Road and other ancient trade routes owe their existence to this simple yet powerful application. The wheel wasn't just moving goods. It was moving ideas, cultures, and entire economies, laying the groundwork for the interconnected world we know today. As civilizations grew, so did conflict. And where there's conflict, there's innovation. Around 2000 BCE, another breakthrough happened. Likely in the Near East, the solid, heavy wheel was replaced by a much lighter, more elegant design: the spoked wheel. By removing large sections of the wood and replacing them with thin, strong spokes radiating from a central hub, the wheel became dramatically lighter and faster. This single development completely changed the face of ancient warfare. It gave rise to the chariot. A chariot was the ancient world's equivalent of a fighter jet. It was a mobile weapons platform, giving armies unprecedented speed and maneuverability on the battlefield. Empires like the Egyptians, Hittites, and Assyrians built their military might on legions of swift, deadly chariots. They could outflank infantry, chase down fleeing enemies, and create chaos in enemy lines. The spoked wheel turned warfare into a high-speed, dynamic affair and became a symbol of power and prestige for kings and generals across the ancient world. For centuries, the basic design of the spoked wheel remained the standard. It was used on carriages, wagons, and watermills. But the next great leap forward came with the thunderous arrival of the Industrial Revolution. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the world was hungry for power and speed. The wooden wheel found its new form in iron and steel. It became the driving force of the steam engine, powering locomotives that crisscrossed continents, shrinking vast distances, and connecting people like never before. It was in the gears and cogs of the new factories, automating production and creating the modern industrial world. The humble wheel was no longer just about transport. It was the heart of the machine age. And this was just the beginning of its modern transformation. From the iron wheels of the railway to the rubber tires of the automobile, the evolution continued at a breathtaking pace. The invention of the pneumatic tire by John Boyd Dunlop in the late 19th century made travel smoother, faster, and more comfortable, paving the way for the age of the car. Suddenly, personal freedom of movement was available to the masses. The 20th century saw the wheel take to the skies, not just on the landing gear of airplanes that connected the globe in a matter of hours, but also in the complex turbines and gyroscopes that made flight possible. And it didn't stop there. The wheel even left our planet. Think of the Mars rovers, like Curiosity and Perseverance, exploring alien landscapes millions of miles away. These robotic explorers are, at their core, sophisticated wheeled vehicles, carrying the legacy of that first Mesopotamian potter's wheel to the frontiers of space exploration. From tiny gears in a wristwatch to the massive turbines generating our electricity, the wheel is everywhere. So the next time you get in a car, ride a bike, or even see a plane fly overhead, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey of the wheel. It started as a simple tool to shape clay and evolved to become the foundation of our global transportation network, the engine of industry and a key to exploring other worlds. It's a perfect example of how a single brilliant idea can ripple through time, continuously adapting and driving human progress forward in ways its inventors could never have imagined. The story of the wheel is the story of us, our ingenuity, our ambition, and our unending desire to move forward. Imagine a world without movement. A world where progress is measured by the sheer force of muscle, where every journey is a battle against the earth itself. Our story begins in such a world, a vast, dusty landscape under a relentless sun. Here, our ancestors fought gravity with every step, their greatest ambitions limited by what they could drag or carry. A heavy log, a massive stone for a shelter. Each was a monumental task, a struggle that defined their existence. How could they ever build, explore, or dream beyond the horizon when the very ground held them captive? The world was big, but their reach was painfully small. Something had to change. A revolution was needed, not of fire or of iron, but of something far simpler, yet infinitely more profound. And then, it happened. Perhaps it was a falling log, rolling down a hill. Perhaps it was a potter shaping clay. The exact moment is lost to time, but its echo resounds through all of history. An idea so simple it's almost elegant, a round object, turning on an axis, the wheel. In a small prehistoric settlement, we can almost see them gathering around, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. A crude, solid disc of wood wobbling on a simple axle. They push it, it rolls. And in that moment, the world shifts. The struggle against friction, the ancient enemy of progress, was suddenly over. It wasn't just a tool. It was a key, unlocking a future they couldn't even begin to imagine. The burden on their backs was lifted, and in its place, a boundless new potential was set in motion. This single invention didn't just make life easier. It redrew the map of human civilization. The first wheeled carts, pulled by domesticated animals, allowed for the transport of goods on an unprecedented scale. Suddenly, settlements could become cities. Surplus food from one village could feed another miles away. Trade routes spiderwebbed across continents, carrying not just grain and pottery, but ideas, cultures, and languages. Look at the chariots of ancient Egypt and Rome, thundering across battlefields. They weren't just weapons of war. They were symbols of power, speed, and technological supremacy, all made possible by that humble circle of wood. The Roman Empire, with its famous network of roads, was built for the wheel. It was the circulatory system of an empire, pumping commerce, soldiers, and administration to its farthest reaches. The wheel was no longer just a convenience. It was the very engine of civilization. As centuries turned into millennia, the wheel kept turning, evolving with us. The solid disc gave way to the spoked wheel, a masterpiece of engineering that was lighter, stronger, and more efficient. Think of the medieval water wheel, harnessing the power of a river to grind grain or power a blacksmith's bellows. This was the birth of industry. It was the wheel tirelessly turning that laid the groundwork for the factories and mass production that would later define the Industrial Revolution. Then came the age of steam. The mighty locomotive, its giant steel wheels pounding against the rails, connected coasts and conquered wilderness. It shrank the world, making cross-country travel possible in days instead of months. The wheel wasn't just moving objects anymore. It was moving people, uniting nations, and accelerating the pace of life itself. And it didn't stop there. The invention of the vulcanized rubber tire in the 19th century gave the wheel a new lease on life, offering a smoother, faster ride. This paved the way for the bicycle, giving individuals unprecedented personal freedom and mobility. And then, the automobile. The 20th century roared to life on 4 rubber wheels. Cities were reshaped, suburbs were born, and the concept of a personal journey was completely redefined. Our world became a web of highways and streets, all designed to serve the wheel. Think about your daily life. The bus you take to work, the truck that delivers your food, the car you drive to see family. Our modern society is so fundamentally built around the wheel that we often forget it's even there. It's the silent, ever-present foundation of our mobility. But the wheel's influence extends far beyond the road. Look inside any complex machine. What do you find? Gears, cogs, pulleys, and bearings. These are all descendants of the original wheel, its core principle of rotation adapted into a million different forms. From the delicate gears inside a classic wristwatch, ticking away the seconds of our lives, to the massive turbines in a power plant, generating the electricity that lights our homes, the wheel is the unsung hero. It's in the hard drive of the computer I'm using to create this story, spinning thousands of times per minute. It's in the fan that cools you on a hot day. It's in the blender that makes your morning smoothie. The principle of rotation is so fundamental to our technology that removing it would send us back not just to the Stone Age, but to a state of almost total paralysis. It's the ghost in our machines, the force that makes the modern world work. Now let's lift our gaze higher. Even as we dream of a future among the stars, we take the wheel with us. The rovers we send to explore the surface of Mars, like Curiosity and Perseverance, are the most advanced wheeled vehicles ever built. Their specialized wheels are designed to grip the fine Martian dust, to climb alien rocks, and to carry our scientific ambition across another world. When humanity first landed on the moon, one of the first things we did was deploy the Lunar Roving Vehicle. We drove on the moon. That moment, an astronaut bouncing across the lunar surface in a wheeled buggy, is a powerful testament to this invention. We carried a 5,000-year-old idea all the way to another celestial body. The wheel, born from the dust of Earth, is now leaving its tracks in the dust of other worlds, a symbol of our relentless drive to explore the unknown. So where does the wheel go from here? We see glimpses of its future every day. We're developing airless tires that can't be punctured, made from advanced composites. We're recreating smart wheels with embedded sensors that monitor road conditions and tire pressure in real time, making our vehicles safer and more efficient. And what about wheels that can move in any direction? The Omni Wheel, with its ability to move forwards, backward, and sideways without turning, is already revolutionizing robotics and automated warehouses. Imagine a car that can parallel park by simply sliding sideways into a space. That's the future the wheel is building. It continues to adapt, to become smarter, more resilient, and more integrated with our technology. From a simple wooden disc to a self-aware, multi-directional component of a robotic explorer, the wheel's journey is our journey. It's a story of human ingenuity, of our constant refusal to accept limitations. It began as a solution to a simple problem: how to move a heavy object. But it became so much more. It became the catalyst for trade, the engine of industry, the foundation of modern transport, and now our partner in the exploration of the cosmos. Every time you see a wheel turn on a car, a bicycle, a child's toy, or in a film about a mission to Mars, remember that you are witnessing the legacy of one of the greatest ideas humanity has ever had. It's the silent spinning axis around which our world revolves. It reminds us that sometimes the simplest ideas are the ones that carry us the furthest. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about the ideas that shaped our world. Follow us to keep exploring.